So Ronan, we've come to the end of the Cyprus Cup tournament. 4 games in 8 days was a demanding schedule. What's your thoughts on how the tournament went?
I think the first thing to say is having 10 days with the players this time of year is a great opportunity to get them together on the training pitch, to practice things, to look at different strategies, different players with a view to the European qualifiers resuming in April. It's great that you have game time obviously here as well, that you can look at different things without the pressure of winning or losing. So I think that's a start, especially with our players playing basically in all corners of Europe and indeed a few of them in the USA. Going with the games themselves, I think we put in 4 really, really good performances. We were unlucky to only have 1 point going into the final game today, which obviously gave us a playoff for 7th and 8th against a team that are in our group for the Euros. I think the game against Italy, we were certainly the better team, and the fact that we equalised late on showed the desire, the commitment, the effort the girls put in to get something out of that game, because we conceded a late goal, which was disappointing. Likewise, the first match against Austria was disappointing to concede 2 goals, which were one of them was an error, and the first one probably could have been defended a little bit better. Going to the third game against Hungary, then we completely dominated the game, but then again lost. So I think really the problem for us this week was putting the ball in the back of the net, and it was something we spoke about with the girls. It was something we worked on in training, and also then to try to keep a clean sheet and to try to cut out individual errors. And that all came together today for us, thankfully, against Finland. We started off very fast. We were playing against a very, very strong wind, and Finland came at us early. But we had some really, really good passages of play and took a 2-goal lead quite early in the game, and I think we were comfortable for the rest of the game.
What will today's win over Finland mean when you come to June?
Well, it'll mean nothing unless we beat them in June. We're chasing them at the moment for second place. They beat us in Tallaght Stadium in our first game last September. I think we probably showed them a little bit too much respect. Maybe there was a little bit of nervousness with the girls, the first game of a new campaign. We had a good crowd that day and everybody wanted to do well, so we were really disappointed after that game that we hadn't got anything from it. But we all felt in the dressing room afterwards that Finland were a team we were quite capable of beating on our day. We put in a good performance. So I think the fact that we beat them today here, will give us that little bit of a psychological edge. We'll prove to the girls that they actually can beat Finland, and from that point of view, I think it will help us when June comes around.
Looking at the players, you brought 23 players to Cyprus, and that it was a mixture of sort of experienced players and some very young players as well. Your thoughts on what you saw from the squad?
I think some of the players that have been there a while, the more established players as such, really laid down a marker for the younger girls. I think the likes of Karen Duggan, Diane Caldwell in midfield were very, very good all week. Our frontline players that are in the team a long time as well, are in around the squad. Julianne Russell, Anya Gorman, although she ended up playing in defence out in necessity in the last couple of games. Denise O'Sullivan, Rusha Littlejohn were tremendous, and there was some great passages of attack and play, as I mentioned earlier. Our defensive unit was very, very strong. You had Niamh Fahey, Louise Quinn, Emma Byrne were very good. I looked at our 2 other goalkeepers, Niamh Reid Burke and Grace Maloney earlier in the week, and they showed that they're capable of putting Emma under pressure for that number 1 spot by playing really, really well in the games they played. And then some of the youngsters that have just come up from the under-19s, Savannah McCarthy, Megan Connolly, again they show that they're quite comfortable at this level and that they're nearly ready to make that step up.
Given the quality of the individual performances over the past week, how big of a headache does it give you now when you sit down to pick your squad for next month's qualifiers against Montenegro and Spain?
Well, it does give me a headache, and I suppose it's a nice type of headache to have when you now have competition for places, and that's what we want. That's what every manager wants, and indeed every national team manager wants. There's now players pushing in for every position. We were without some established players this week. Stephanie Roach, Fiona O'Sullivan, Siobhan Colleen. Megan Campbell got injured early on in the campaign. Jess Gleeson didn't get to play too much. She's only on the fringes as well. But the fact that some of the youngsters have pushed on now, and the established players even push on more, it shows that the desire is there from every one of the squad to stake a claim for a starting place come the qualifiers in April, and that can only be positive for the future of the team.
When you were at the Istria Cup last year, you handed Katie McCabe her debut, and she's been almost never present in the team since. Are you pleased with the progression that she's shown over the past 12 months?
Yes, Katie's got a move to Arsenal, as we all know, and she's just moved over there in the last few months, so she's finding her feet there. But from what I hear, she's doing very, very well. Their season's yet to start, so they're playing friendly games, and she's featured in those. But this week she's been tremendous for us. You know, today she caused all sorts of problems for a very, very strong Finnish team. She was taken down for the penalty in the 3rd minute. In fact, she was taken down for a penalty against Hungary also the other night. You know, making mazy runs into the box. Defenders just don't know how to deal with her. She can turn left, she can turn right. She can take players on, shoot. Today she could have actually had a hat-trick. And she was disappointed when she came off the park in the second half, because she had 3 great strikes, and it was the result of some great play by our front line that created the openings for Katie, but none of them were on target. You know, so she knows that's the next part that she has to add to her game is goals, because she has everything else.